into a few things early this week on YouTube for other content creators, and it just got me thinking about some. It's almost like a phase I'm going through at the minute where I'm sort of going a bit more super focused at the minute. So, like, for the past, I don't know, 2, 3 years, I basically um, been living a bit of a baller life, just traveling a lot and this, that, and the other. Maybe like, quite a lot, like maybe 2 or 3 times a month on some occasions. Trips all over the place, doing whatever I want, dating, all this stuff, and it was great. But it's almost become, got to be careful because it almost became a little bit part of me identity. And that's not always good because whilst I love, if you have the freedom to do that, it's wonderful, I must admit, because you can go on some nice hikes and you can do this, that, and the other, and do various things in your life that are really good. So a lot of travel is always good, but the problem is, eventually you can end up in a situation where other things can suffer. And I've been exploring what the right balance is. So let's say since about February now, I've been properly getting my head down. I'm almost like living like a monk at the minute. Really getting my head down. I've got stuff on business to do, and I've been absolutely hammering it and super focused. And I have to say, just because of that period now, starting to see it bearing fruit, right, in terms of results. And I've done a few videos on delayed gratification, right? So you could say at the minute I am delaying gratification. So I paused the trips, knocked them on the head for a bit to focus on business, and that is me delaying gratification in a way. And I've done it whenever I've done videos on delayed gratification, I've always said that, like, it's like when I discuss it with Roberto, my meditation coach. It's like a lot of philosophies talk about becoming outcome independent and, focus on the process and all this stuff and just consistency. And I always talk about this in my videos, and you should delay gratification and invest in yourself. However, the issue that we have, I love that one. Yeah, I'll send you a picture. Anyway, the issue that we have when you just get your head down and become super outcome independent and just is like, we're humans. We need a what's the word? We need a reward. We actually need a reward out of life. So, but for the last 3 years, I think I've been having too much reward. I've just been literally balling it, right? Just traveling all the time, doing whatever the hell I want. And the reason why I did that was because a few years ago I got some success, like, on some big projects, and I just thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go for it. And so I did, but I think I pushed it a bit far, basically. So I started to feel it mid last year, and towards the end of the year, I thought I've got to knock it on the head. And I put a link down below to a video when I went on this mini trip with Jaron Scott. So Jaron is from Mexpat Dating. He lives in Mexico City. Came over to the UK. I said, "Oh, I'll take you to a few of my favourite cities in Europe." And we just went on a bit of a flipping lads trip and just balled it all over the place every night. Out somewhere new, different place, and traveling around as well, different countries. And I was fucking knackered, and it was really tiring, and I wasn't getting any work done, and it was fantastic. And we met up with another lad. It was great. It was a really good time. And I remember at the time thinking, right, I'm really pushing it here. I need to knock this on the head. And I think that was in September. And then, yeah, so since then, I was like consciously thinking, but I kept going on these damn trips all the way through to about February this year. And 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to be on another trip, which I do every year, which is like a mountain biking trip that I do with my buddies. And we go to Mallorca and do this fantastic mountain biking. It got cancelled because people started dropping out. And really, I was still going to go, but I knocked it on the head because I had so much work to do. So it really caught up with me, this shit. It was like, hang on. Yeah, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, I won some big projects and some money. And what I realised was it was getting to the point where I had to knock it on the head. I just thought, if I carry on here, I'm just going to squander everything I've built in the business. I need to refocus on my actual mission here and what I'm doing before I lose all the gains. And it was getting to the point where I was just going to make a fucking mess. So this year, I decided to pause the trips and really get my head down. And that's what I've been doing. Really, really, really focused, like, time. And I just want to talk a bit about it because I wrote a few things down here, right? Talk about delayed gratification. Great. Fantastic. I listened to a few things. Like, there's a YouTuber, he's quite big, and I caught one of his videos on it, and I think he's been doing it for years. He's called Chris. I don't know if you ever heard. First Man. Good guy. I've got a lot of respect for this guy. But it seems that he's been delaying gratification even in his 20s. And he's obviously he's younger than me, right? And I think he's like early 30s now. And he's still doing it. And like I said in my videos, the problem with delaying gratification too long is you could be fucking dead before you get the benefits. You know what I mean? You can't delay gratification indefinitely because it's like I said, you know, and all these philosophies become outcome independent and just focus on what you can control. All the stoicism stuff, great, but you know, we're human beings and eventually we do need a reward. And if you do have a period of focus, let's call it like, you know, some people call it like a monk mode where you just get your head down and you smash it out for a few months, which is what I've been doing this year. If you really are hyper-focused on whatever project you're working on, you do start to see some results. But if you were hyper-focused for 6 months, got your head down on a monk mode and you didn't get any results, you'd be really pissed off. So I do think you need some reward, right? And this guy, the first man, Chris, he has got some flipping results, right? But I'm wondering at what cost, because when I watch his videos and I listen to him, because I respect the guy, he's put a lot of work in, he's got really far for his age, and he's got a lot of things right. I don't see any fun in it, in his life, you know what I mean? He has started to travel now because he's doing this, like buying these properties abroad, but I don't see much fun. I mean, you know what I mean? He talks about his apartment being fancy and all this, that and the other, and yeah, great, but you know, are you having any fucking fun? Right, so I think there's a balance, but I think you can take it too far. Like, literally, like I said, last sort of 3 years, I've just been flipping travelling 2 or 3 times a month, little trips just for fun, messing around, doing some sport, doing some hiking, dating, whatever, messing around. It's great. So where's the balance? I'm just thinking about this now, right? Because right now I need to focus. I've got a lot of business to do, which is what I'm doing. I'm just focusing and it's starting to bear fruit. And I think if I carry on just a bit longer, I'll end up with 1 or 2 big project wins. I've already got one in the bag, and then I'll be set then. What I thought I'd do is do like a 6-month period of hyper focus. And at the end of that 6 months, I'll have landed enough business to last me for the next sort of 3 years. And then I'll just go and fucking ball it again for 3 years. No, I'm not this time. That's the point. I'm not, because that's what I did last time. That's what led to it. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come up with a new strategy. Obviously, if you listen to any of my videos, I always talk about like creating goals. And what I do is I focus on, when I work, I focus on just 3 things a day, right? 3 small things. And I only really work in like up to an hour each one of them in intense blocks, so I might do, oh, jeez, I just got a notification. So I might do like my first one, spend an hour super focused, and then I'll have a little break, and then I'll have another hour super focused, then I'll have a little break, and then the next one might be half an hour. And that's me done for the day, right? I don't think, when these people say, oh, get your head down, like even this Chris does it on First Man. He says he works like 12 hours a day. He might do. I'm wondering how much of that 12 hours is actual focus time, because when I used to work in corporate, like I used to do like full-time job and work overtime and stuff. I bet there was only about 1 or 2 hours in each day that were actually worth, were productive. The rest of it, you're just fucking around doing emails, making cups of tea. And I always talk about this. This is why I always say, every day, all you need to do is, what are the top 3 things that I need to do today? And you don't want huge tasks because we've not got a long attention span. So I think the secret here is, even though I've been doing my mini monk mode, all I've been doing is the 3 things a day. And even when, like, last 3 years I've been traveling around and just fucking around and doing whatever I want, I was still doing 3 things a day, because you can do that wherever you are. So the secret is to sort your routine out, right? Focus on, create that identity, create your goals, and then what are the top 3 things I need to do today working towards my goals? Once you sort that, you can work 2 or 3 hours a day in the morning, yeah? Early on in the morning, get it out the way, and then you got the rest of the day to yourself. And in that rest of that day, what you should be doing is still doing things that are beneficial to you. And that might be like working out, training, meditating, reading, education, journaling. Obviously, you need to journal. So like when I do my journal, that's where I write down my top 3 things of the day in the morning, do some reading, then do my 3 things, and then I've got the rest of the day. So like now, I've basically got the day free. I did it all this morning. I'm just going to go and train later, and then tonight I'm going to have a quiet night because tomorrow one I've got a busy one. But I'm still at the minute not going to go on any of these trips, just because Monday I've got to prepare for a demo. Tuesday I've got a big demo with a client. I've been doing tendering and things like this. But you don't have to work 10 hours is what I'm saying, right? If you do work 10 hours, only 2 or 3 of them need to be focused towards your goals. The rest of it is just like filling in with admin and bits and pieces. And I'm not trying to diminish people's jobs here, because we've all got jobs to do, but there's only a short amount of that time is actually going to really change your life. Every day, make sure you do 2 or 3 hours, or even if it's just 1 hour, on things that are going to move you forward towards your goals. So in terms of the balance between, I'm asking a question here, right? Should you have periods of relaxation in your life where you just do whatever you want, after you've made some money, just travel and fuck around and just live a baller lifestyle, and then go back to focus work, do a project? And I know that a lot of self-employed contractors do this. So like they'll work on a contract, like good money, self-employed contracting money, and they'll build up like a slush fund, and then they'll have 6 months off, and they'll just do whatever and just chill. And then once that money runs out, they get a contract again and they go and do that. So that's one way. That's kind of like monk mode, enjoy the proceeds, monk mode. Or should you be trying to, like what I read, what's his name? Rob Moore, progressive. I read his book. It's only a little book. It's called Life Leverage. It's pretty good. And in there, he says that it's on my reading list, by the way. If you go to andyholt.co.uk, probably put a link down below. Go to reading list, in resources reading list on there. Rob Moore, Life Leverage, he says in there, he said you should integrate your work into your life. And he gives that example, like when he travels, he's with his family and he's just doing those focused blocks of time, you know what I mean? He's not like busting a gut and working. He might be, but you know, from what I can, what he says in the book, he's not like working 10 hours while his wife and his kids are at the beach and he's stuck indoors working. No, he gets it out the way early and then he integrates it into his life. And sometimes some of his work's just like in between your life. And there was, I thought there was a bit of a, not a well, maybe a contradiction, right, with what Jim Rohn says. You know, when Jim Rohn's sort of saying, if you know who Jim Rohn is, you know, some of his older sort of videos where he has these famous speeches where he says, when you're at work, be at work. When you're in the shower, be in the shower. When you're at the beach, be at the beach. Yeah, but I think you can context switch. If you're only working, if you're only doing each day, what are the top 3 things I need to do working towards my goals? And you're pretty much ignoring all the admin, the things that are not moving you closer to your goals, you're saying no to. I think you can do that. I think you can integrate it into your life. And it is possible to have a nice lifestyle, enjoy a nice lifestyle, whilst also focusing on your goals. It takes some momentum because obviously if you've got a job, you can't, like if you're working for someone else, you can't do that. So it's going to take many years to get yourself in a fortunate position where you've got the freedom, you know, location independence. This, like, I did a video on how long you should stay in your job, and I've also got a good article on my website about it, and that is all aimed at moving from that position of being employed to having a bit more like personal sovereignty in your life, like how to move from that sort of, you know, I am someone's employee to self-employed and getting a bit more location independence. That might take many years, but once you get some momentum on this and you get yourself in that fortunate position, I think it is possible to integrate your work into your lifestyle so that you can have a fantastic lifestyle while still focusing on being results focused. What are the top 3 things that you need to do today? And that's all you need to do. You don't need to answer everyone's emails. You don't need to answer every WhatsApp message or, you know, be at hand for everyone. You can, you know, just be super focused on what you need to do, the things that are going to change your life and move the needle. And, you know, stop doing so many other things, even if people ask you. So this is I'm going to give this a bit more thought and come up with a proper strategy on it, because I've kind of explored it all now. You know, I've been that sort of employee working massive hours. Then when I started my business, I was the same. I was working sort of 80 hours and it was crazy. And I got it to the point, and then obviously I learned these new productivity techniques and started being a bit more results focused, so creating some goals and only working on the top 3 things a day. That fucking changed my life. I went from working 80 hours a week to like 15 hours a week, and I can do that if I get up early. Like sometimes I'm like, when I'm at home and I've got the time, I train jiu-jitsu at 6 in the morning. I train jiu-jitsu at 6 in the morning, then I get home for like 7:15 or something, and I then do my routine, you know, do the journal and everything and my reading, and then I just do them 3 things, and sometimes I'm done by 11 a.m. When I go on holiday, it's the same. I can be done by like 11 o'clock. Then I've got the rest of the day. So working like that absolutely flipping transformed my life. But if I hadn't have put the years in up front, grafting like fuck, getting out of that corporate slave hell. Well, it wasn't a hellhole, but it was quite a good job. But I was fucking trapped, golden handcuffs. Getting out of that to starting a business and then taking risks, you know, with the whole starting the whole software. If I hadn't done that groundwork where I was still working 80 hours a week, I don't think I could have got to working this way. So I do think, yeah, it's very difficult. And I've got a draft article that I'm going to put on my website soon. I'm going to call it Crossing the Chasm, right? It's like, remember I had a different coach that I was working with, and he told me it's like crossing the chasm. It is. It's like when you're, I always think that, like, if you're at the bottom and you've got nothing to lose, I think you're in a good spot, right? Because you've got freedom. People at the bottom have got a lot of freedom, you know what I mean? They've got nothing to lose, and it's great. If you're at the bottom, you're good, but you've no money, of course, and you know you can't travel. If you're at the top, you've got the opposite. You've got freedom again, but you've got some money. So to get from the bottom to the top, it's called crossing the chasm, right? You've got to navigate the corporate world. And when you're in the middle, so if you think about society, those sort of, I don't want to call it middle, like it's not middle class, because middle class is still quite wealthy, but working class or whatever, you know, if you're going through that workforce to try and work your way out of it, it's like crossing a deep river. It's like crossing the chasm. It's like, imagine a massive, like the Amazon River, and it's really busy and like, you know, over like flooded, and you know you've got to get from this side to that side. You're on the fuck all money and right at the bottom to getting across and you know, making your success eventually. To cross that chasm, you've got to take a lot of risks. You risk drowning, and what that drowning would be, like for me, I had to work myself up through a corporate career. Now, what drowning would have meant was when I was in that job, saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. I had a mortgage, you know what I mean? All these responsibilities, and then losing your job and being out on your ear and for doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing, slipping up, failing a policy. And then next minute, you're fucked, right? So it's almost like, can you get through that to the point where you have some personal sovereignty? I think I talked about it in, if you go on my website, or I've got a video on it too. It's called, recently actually, it's like how to create your fortress of solitude. It's based on the movie that Mark Wahlberg were in, The Gambler. I put in the video, it's just me talking, right? But I think it's in my lives. But if you go on my website, andyholt.co.uk, there's I've embedded a little YouTube there from the movie, The Gambler, how to create your fortress of solitude. And I think it is that, it's getting personal sovereignty. And one of the ways to get personal sovereignty is develop financial independence. And you know, when you see these people that just got like fuck you money, where they can just do whatever they want. I mean, they still got people going after them, right? Because people don't like people with personal sovereignty and freedoms. You know, society wants to kind of like, they want you a good little slave, paying your taxes, towing the line, all that kind of thing. But the minute you start thinking for yourself and get some independence, that's, you know, you get a lot of freedom, but I don't think, you know, the authorities want you to have that freedom, basically, or it feels that way. But yeah, to get from A to B, you know, to get from the bottom to the, it's like crossing that dangerous river where there's many pitfalls and you can drown. And you know, if you're in that, I remember when I was in corporate and I started to put like 3 extensions on my house at the time. You know, literally made the house twice as big. And I only had a job. I didn't have any fucking money. So I was like, really, I've never felt as exposed. I really needed that job. If I'd have lost my job at that time with the amount of money I had in debts and all this, that and the other at that time, I'd have been absolutely screwed, right? And I'd never felt so trapped. Credit cards, all this stuff, for fucking years. It took me 4 years to wipe my way out of that. Probably longer. It was horrendous. 4 years plus a couple of years building it. It was horrendous, but I got through it. And that's what I mean about that, crossing the chasm. So, back to the point of the video, because I do have to go. I've got a meeting. You know, that balance between, you know, when I always said delayed gratification, yes, to a point, but not indefinitely. I do not condone a permanent monk mode, just waiting and waiting, you know, focus on your purpose and ignore women and all that, you know what I mean? Yeah, sometimes women can really take you off your purpose, you know what I mean? Massive distraction, spending time on someone that you have no intention of doing anything long term with or anything like that, you know, just dating. Massive distraction. But in the same token, you know, eventually we need some reward for our success. And this is the point. I do think that we need some reward. So that's what I say. Like, obviously, you know, the way I work in terms of focusing on three small things a day. I do it in my journal. So let's have a look here now. Just show you quickly. Here we go. Doo-doo. So there we go. There's my 3 things for the day. Tick one of them off. I need to tick another one off now. Yeah. And then the last, I've got one more thing here, which I pivoted on because I did something else earlier instead. So you're allowed to pivot as well. So even though I write 3 things down, I've got one more thing that I can pivot on. Hey, Mexpat, who's that? Is that you, Joel? This is my mate. You know what I mentioned earlier about going on the trip with Jaron? Jaron's from Mexpat. So it's either Joel or Jaron that's on right now. So that was what I was talking about earlier. If you want to go and check them out, just have a look in the comments here, Mexpat Dating. Hi, Jaron, you're right. I was just talking about our trip last year. It's related to this this video because I felt like I'd done a bit too much traveling, the baller lifestyle, and I kept telling myself, I'm going to have to knock this on the head at some point because I'm not getting anything done. And recently, since about February this year, I've really got my head down to focus. I'm doing a bit of a mini monk mode to get my business back into good shape so it'll last. I'm actually going out to see these guys they're in Mexico City. I'm going to plan a trip out there in a couple of weeks. So yeah. But also, if you go on Mexpat's channel, you'll see I'm on there quite a bit as well. Because, yeah, we do a bit of collab videos and things like that. So, yeah, I think I've got a few more weeks to get my head down. I'm actually enjoying it. It's like living in solitude. I'm really enjoying it. I'm tightening up my diet as well, so I'm looking really good. Yeah. Yeah, at times, I was just saying, Jaron, like at times, you know, you push it a bit far and your business starts to suffer and you think, fucking hell, I'm going to have to get my head down for a bit. Ideally, you want to be a bit more balanced, you know, week to week, where you're covering both off. You're still enjoying a lifestyle, but you're actually getting stuff done for work. But last year, definitely, well, last 3 years, I've just been baller in it. And that was just because a few years ago, I got a lot of success and yeah, I just decided to treat myself, but now it's back on it. All right. So I am going to do I'm going to give it a bit more thought. I'll do a proper video on this, like a long form, where I really give it some thought and come up with a strategy. I mean, a lot of it, obviously, is based on the reason, by the way, I created this journal for goal achievement. You can get one. Just go on either Amazon, or they're on Prime, or you can go on the website, goalachievementhub.com. And the reason why I created this journal in the first place is based on my journey, how I went from working 80 hours a week to like 15 hours a week by just doing 3 things a day. And what I've learned, I put into the journal. So, this is kind of my system for how to sort of balance lifestyle. And, it's the reason why I've been able to do that for 3 years, because I just, like I said, I kind of like, in my 8 or 10 hour day, or the typical 8 or 10 hour working day, whatever you work, I refuse to do that. I am literally just going to say, what 3 things do I need to do today? And it'll take me 2 hours or whatever in the morning to do them. And they're all working towards big goals. And that might be securing a contract that will give me money for the next 2 or 3 years or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not doing the small things. So I'm not responding to every email. I'm not responding to every WhatsApp message. I'm turning down meetings left, right, and centre unless they're going to be important to me. So the 3 things a day are always mega important. They're all on my goals that I write down, and just being results focused like that, or like it's not a to-do list, right? You want to get rid of your to-do list and just say what today is going to move the needle on my goals, and that's where you need to focus, unless it's worth your time, and then you can enjoy life. If you do that, because here's the thing, right? Like I say, you can only really focus for a small amount of time. And you only need what is better, rather than like smashing 100 hours a week on your goals, which you could do on a project. It's not sustainable every week. What is more sustainable is you doing small, consistent effort over a longer period of time. So you work in 2 or 3 hours a day consistently, very, very intensely focused on your goals over a long period of time, will far, far outperform you trying to cram it all into 1 week. I'll tell you now, right? It's about consistency. That's why I work like that. And this is how, if you work that way, and I've got loads of videos on this, right? And obviously you can just go and get the journal, and it's all written in here. I have actually got some videos specifically related to the journal on the actual process. So if you want to go and check them out, I think they might be in a playlist called The Journal for Goal Achievement, or you can go on, there's actually a YouTube channel and a website for it. And you get all, you can just listen to those videos, and that, I tell you there how to create goals and how to work on them each day to achieve whatever you want to achieve. And just by living like that, that is, as Rob Moore says in Life Leverage, you can integrate your work into your lifestyle. They're integrated. It's like I said in a video, right? I did a video on work-life balance. Who talks about work-life balance? It's usually people that hate the jobs, isn't it? You never hear anyone that's got a good lifestyle and is successful talk about work-life balance. It's always the people that want to get out of the fucking jobs that talk about work-life balance. That's why Rob Moore in Life Leverage talks about integrating your work into your lifestyle. That's what I would do. Work on 3 things a day. Focus towards your goals. Stop doing all the small, unimportant tasks. Like I said before in many videos, like one of the first books I read on this, Tim Ferriss, 4-hour work week, which is a metaphor, because I've got my week down to 12-15 hours, which works, and I can do less. Like for the last 3 years when I've been traveling about, I was doing an hour a day, you know what I mean? That's like 5 hours a week or 4, whatever. I've been doing the 4-hour work week, but it's a metaphor, right? It doesn't mean work for 4 hours a week. What it really means is stop doing the unimportant things and only work on the things that are going to move the needle, right? And Tim talks about outsourcing a lot of things, and yeah, you need to leverage others and stuff, right? Which is just a skill you got to learn how to leverage, right? But also, in one of the biggest lessons I learned from the 4-hour, the 4-hour work week, which I read it, bloody hell, it must be about 17 years ago when I read it, right? Over 15 years ago. It's been out years. think it was his first big success. The biggest lesson I got from 4-hour work week was the low information diet, as he calls it. And what that is you've got to remove unimportant things from your brain and your thoughts and only focus on the things that are going to move the needle. And the other quick tip that he said is like batching emails, right? So batching emails is, he said, don't deal with emails until 1 p.m. in the afternoon, right? If you put off emails, like it's like getting up in the morning, the first thing you do is look at your phone and start fucking looking at messages and Instagram and all this shit and who's messaged you, right? Or if you, first thing you do in the morning is turn your computer on, start looking at emails. The problem with dealing with emails first thing in the morning is it'll just zap your energy and consume your time. And then if you're one of them people that checks your emails every hour, it'll literally zap 20 minutes out of every hour. So what Tim Ferriss talks about with batching emails, leave them until 1 p.m. Most of the emails will sort themselves out because other people are copied in and they'll just get dealt with by the time it gets to the afternoon. And then in the afternoon, just spend like, one short period, half an hour or whatever, an hour, dealing with any emails that are relevant. I'd try and do that in 20 minutes, right? And then they're just done in one swoop instead of like every hour checking your emails and wasting 20 minutes on someone pecking your head about something, right? When people email you, they want something from you. And unless that's a client that's going to fund you for the next 12 months, so obviously it's client, I've got clients, I always answer to them. But unless that's a client wanting something, right, how is it moving you forwards? So just put them off until 1 in the afternoon. And that's the point. So I focus on 3 things a day. I try and get them done in the morning, then they're done. I like to be done by about 11 o'clock, right? So then I've got the rest of the day. And then I don't feel guilty. Like the day's mine then. I'm not worried about it. I've been super productive in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I can then answer emails or just fuck around or go to the gym usually, go and do a workout, whatever. That's how you can integrate your work into your life. Right, I do have to shoot because I've got a meeting. Someone's waiting on Zoom for me. All right. Thank you for listening and see you all next time.